So tonight's video is about Ezekiel chapter 37. This chapter is well known among Christians, is quite popular, and it is talking about a vision that Ezekiel has. And the vision that he has is of a bunch of dry bones in a valley, very many, it says in verse 2 of that chapter. And as the vision moves forward, God asks Ezekiel, "Do you think these bones can live?" And Ezekiel said to God, "You know." And then God tasks Ezekiel with speaking a life into the bones after he tells the bones to come together. And so it is on the shoulders of Ezekiel to speak to the bones and on him to speak the breath of life into them. And if you go through the entire chapter, there's lots in this one. Lots of videos and topics could be pulled just from this chapter. And as the chapter goes on, it talks about how God is restoring the house of Israel. And what I want to relate this chapter to in when I was doing in relation to the verse 7, which is talking about there was a rattling of bones and the bones came together, and then it says bone to bone. I did a short study on the word bone in the Hebrew language, and there are several definitions, and some of the definitions are vast, powerful, and numerous, as well as might, strength, and framework. And of course, we understand that bones are the frame of the human body. However, strength is the frame then of the church body, if you want to look at it that way. And so, as I was studying and I was thinking about it, I started to understand and I started to see what God meant in relation to this. A lot of times, as Christians, because we should, we do a self analysis, we listen to, somebody preach, and then we take it upon ourselves to see how we can improve or what are some changes that we could make. So this particular chapter could be for individuals, and that's great. And I believe, though, that if we extend it further, it's specifically talking about how we need to speak life into the body of Christ, into the framework of the church. Now, there are apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers, which is found in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11, wherein God speaks that he has given to some people those gifts and those gifts of leadership. Now, we see in a lot of churches that there are many, many pastors, and there are not that many apostles, not that many prophets, and not that many teachers. And it would seem that some of the pastors that are in a pastoring position, they do have some of those other gifts. But what I believe is that God is going to restructure the church, that those people that are to hold those offices of apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers, some of them have been lying dormant, and some of them are in the valley of the dry bones. And I believe that as we as Christians take note that the church is unbalanced in the fact that there are usually only pastors, sometimes there's a mix in there, that the framework is not stable. And I believe God is calling us as Christians to pray and to prophesy to the church, the bones that are dry. So I myself prophesy that those people that are to hold those positions would come to life, and I breathe the breath of life into them so that they rise and that they're able to stand, that they would be strength and they would be strong and they would be found in the frameworks of the church so that it becomes a proper covering for those people that need it. And I find it very interesting, the fact where it says bone to bone, because that means it's strength to strength. It doesn't mean necessarily gift to gift. And when that is talked about a lot of times in the body of Christ, people are like, oh, well, I'm the leader and you're not. Or God called me to this great position, but he didn't call you. There always seems to be a comparison about gifts, But if we think about it as bone to bone and strength to strength, it means that everybody is bringing their best. They're bringing strength, and it's going to be shoulder to shoulder, and it's going to be built by people in their strength, which is God using them for what He made them. And I'm not sure that it makes entirely sense the way I'm explaining it, but I'm trying my best. So I believe because that particular chapter is referring to those bones coming alive and becoming an army, that that it's representing the army of God that is going to have the strength that it needs, that it's supposed to have, and that was God's original plan. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you.